Okay, it's Mrs. Bjornson, and we are going to do a little review on the factoring techniques because unfortunately on your test and in reality you're not going to have one section just on differences of squares or one section on factoring by grouping. You're going to have them all mixed together, and you have to be able to know what technique to use on each polynomial. So there's a diagnostic procedure that I like to have, so I'm going to share that with you right now. The first thing that you're going to do is the golden rule. Factor out GCF. Okay, always start by looking at a GCF. If you don't, your life will be more difficult. Once you have done that, what you do is going to depend on the number of terms you have. Do you have 2 terms? Do you have 3 terms? Do you have, and way over here, 4 terms? Okay, so based off of the number of terms, it's going to dictate what process you do. And so let's start on the left here, 2 terms. Is it in the form of a squared minus b squared? If it is, then you're going to break it down into a minus b, a plus b. If you have a squared plus b squared, then it is not factorable. So just be on the lookout for sums of squares. Okay, 3 terms. We have 2 categories. We have a equaling to 1, and over here, a not equaling to 1. Okay, so two different categories here. If it's an a equal to 1, we want to go straight to answer. We're going to do a multiply to what multiplies to the c term and adds to the b term. Okay, what are my a's, b's, and c's? We have a x squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so we're going to find our 2 numbers, n1 times n2 and n1 plus n2. And we're going to go straight into, once we have those answers, we just airdrop them into our brackets, and we are done. Okay, that's a go straight to answer. This is a go straight to answer too. Okay. When a doesn't equal to 1, we have more work to do. I'm going to actually come back to a equaling to 1. I'm going to do my 4 terms first, actually. So here's an example here. You're either going to be doing, the 2 methods were by grouping or tic-tac-toe. Okay, so let's start with the tic-tac-toe. Why not? If I have a question that looks something like this, 6x squared and a 10, and then I'll have a 4x and a 15x. What we do on the tic-tac-toe is we find the GCFs in the columns, GCF, and in the rows, and we're good to go. What this question would look like, actually, if we were to do the grouping, we would start off like this: 6x squared plus 4x plus 15x plus 10. Okay, that's the equivalent for the by grouping. So with the tic-tac-toe, what are my GCFs? 3x, 2 plus 2, 2x here, and plus 5. So there's our answer to that. But if I were to do it by grouping, let's pull out the 2x, 3x plus 2, and a 5, 3x plus 2. We have, these are the same. Whatever you have highlighted comes to the front. 3x plus 2 and 2x plus 5, which are the same answers as from the tic-tac-toe here and here. Okay, let's go back to the 3-term now, because with the 3-term we have the two methods for the a equaling to 1. We have decomposition and we have X method. Okay, just know one of them. You just need to know one of them and be consistent with it. So if it was a decomposition question, you're going to be starting off with a multiply 2 adds 2 table again, but this time it's A times C. What multiplies to AC but adds to B. And you're going to get your N1 times your N2 and your N1 plus your N2. But this time you're going to decompose that middle term. That middle term gets broken down. So if the example was 6x squared plus 19x plus 10, your multiply 2 adds 2 table would be what multiplies to 60 and adds to 19. Okay, I happen to know the answer to this right away. 4 times 15 and 4 plus 15. This is a downside to this method. Sometimes to get those answers, it can take a long time if the numbers get big. But once you get them, you got them, and it goes fast. So you break down the 19 into 4x plus 15x plus 10. Now, I knew that it was a 4 and a 15 because I chose the same question. Notice this question here is the same as this question here. So you just follow the steps for the 4-term factoring, and whether or not you want to use a tic-tac-toe to do it or a grouping method, you're gonna just use the 4 terms, one of those methods, C 4-term method. Now the X method, that's a little bit different. So for this question here, 6x squared plus 19x plus 10x, you just draw an x. Okay, we're going to have, let's try 3x and 2x. And we want, what do we want with the 2x? We want the 5. So let's do a 2 and a 5 here. And now we're going to crisscross multiply to see, does this added to that product? We want to check that. So 15x plus 4x. Hey, that equals to 19x. Okay, which is our target. Therefore, with the X method, we just rip off the top. 3x plus 2, and rip off the bottom pair. 2x plus 5. And you're done. Okay, so whether or not you do have options with your factoring. You don't need to know every single way to factor, but pick one way and know it well, and you will be fine. And don't throw out these notes. You will not remember how to factor next year in grade 11. That's guaranteed. Our brains are designed to forget information if we don't use it. So just keep your notes, dust yourself off next year, and as long as you learn it in grade 10, when you're in grade 11, it'll come back once you review it for a couple minutes. It'll be easy peasy for you. Okay, good luck.